Welcome to Mr. Beebop. Mr. Parker Pyne is one of Agatha Christie's fictional characters. A self-proclaimed heart specialist, he advertises his services for resolving unhappiness in the personal column of the Times. Many ignore the advert. Some may laugh at it and move on. But those in need make their way to a modest office on Richmond Street and meet a most baffling and unique investigator. A large, balding man, thought to be in his 60s, he always insists that he is quite simply not a detective. Retired from being a civil servant, he decided to embark on a new career, curing unhappiness. And what better way to advertise than through the personal column of the Times? Christie presents Parker Pyne as having a solid if bland physical presence, one which is characteristically English and somehow vaguely comforting to those around him, though they themselves could not articulate exactly how or why. The character is first described, in the case of the middle-aged wife, as follows. Somehow or other, the mere sight of Mr. Parker Pyne brought a feeling of reassurance. He was large, but not to say fat. He had a bald head of noble proportions, strong glasses, and little twinkling eyes. In Parker Pyne Investigates, Christie refers to the character as Mr. Parker Pyne, but also frequently as Mr. Pyne, suggesting that his name was Pyne, and Parker may have been a middle name. A separate first name is only ever alluded to once. In Have You Got Everything You Want, Parker Pyne had a case labeled J. Parker Pyne. What J stood for is never given. In his newspaper advertisements, however, he only ever uses his middle name rather than his first for all business purposes. Confusion that his first name possibly may be Christopher stems from a later story, Problem at Polensa Bay. While on holiday, he had signed in as C. Parker Pyne in the hotel register, and he returns to the book and scribbles over the entry to change it to Christopher instead. In the house at Shiraz, Parker Pyne tries to answer the questions posed to him by Persian immigration officials without understanding what was being said to him. After he gave his replies, he asked his pilot what he had actually said. According to the pilot, he had said that your father's Christian name is Tourist, that your profession is Charles, that the maiden name of your mother is Baghdad, and that you have come from Harriet. This suggests that his father's first name is Charles and that his mother's maiden name is Harriet. Parker Pyne works on a theory that there are 5 main types of unhappiness, and all can be logically resolved. It is traits like this which have led to the assumption that he was heavily influenced by Conan Doyle's creation, Mycroft Holmes. Agatha Christie was a known fan of the Sherlock Holmes stories, and Mycroft, Sherlock's eldest brother, like Parker Pyne, was a former government employee involved in gathering statistics. There is a suggestion that both had the skills to be traditional detectives like Poirot and Sherlock, but instead chose to indulge in their own methods. Additionally, the resemblance between Parker Pyne and Mycroft Holmes is hard to deny. Both are heavy-set fellows. Both appear to possess superior skills to that of their counterparts, Sherlock Holmes and Hercule Poirot, but they are both nonetheless incapable of performing similar detective work. Since they are both unwilling, to put in the physical effort necessary to bring cases to their conclusions. Parker Pyne is also an uncommon type of detective, who doesn't usually investigate murders or similar crimes, but rather prefers to help his clients to re-encounter happiness. His methods are unorthodox, and he often constructs elaborate charades to fool those he's helping. Mainly, he assists the discontented and the guilt-ridden, often taking a constructive backseat to the drama. Many of his cases are resolved without the participants even realizing it was he who helped them. Though he is apparently limited to a specific type of investigation, Pyne also has uncommon capabilities for criminal investigation. He works alongside his neurotic assistant Miss Felicity Lemon, novelist Ariadne Oliver, handsome lounge lizard Claude Luttrell, and disguise artist Madeleine de Sara. Whatever the case is, he always has the aid of his team. While he does occasionally exert himself in the stories where he is on vacation, Parker Pyne, on the whole, remains a sedentary problem solver, providing solutions based on seemingly little evidence and trusting his agents to handle any of the practical details. In fact, Pyne's own lack of drive and his faith in his agent's skills can be a severe handicap despite his deductive talents, as it resulted in the failure of his efforts in the case of the discontented husband, Pyne's only recorded failure. Agatha Christie published a total of 14 short stories featuring Parker Pyne. Of these, the first dozen initially appeared in various American and British magazines and were later collected into the 1934 anthology Parker Pyne Investigates. The remaining two tales were originally created as vehicles for her most famous sleuth, Belgian detective Hercule Poirot. But Christie reworked this into Pyne cases before their inclusion in the 1939 short story collection The Regatta Mystery and Other Stories. Within his work, Pyne himself always disclaimed the role of hardcore detective, and his literary domain was usually relegated to light-hearted short stories rather than murder mysteries, excepting two instances where he was inadvertently involved. Christie never featured this character in a full-length novel, and despite her lengthy career, did not return to her Pyne creation after the initial 1930s run. Pyne's secretary, Miss Lemon, is apparently the same woman who was secretary to Hercule Poirot. Whether she came into Pyne's employ during one of Poirot's numerous retirements or before she entered Poirot's employ is unknown, though she is described as a young woman in Parker Pyne's story The Discontented Soldier, and as having grizzled hair in the Poirot novel Hickory Dickory Dock, suggesting that she worked for Pyne before working for Poirot. This, along with the appearance of Ariadne Oliver, suggests that Pyne and Poirot occupy the same fictional universe, even though they have never actually met. Poirot and Parker Pyne share many things, not the least the title Death on the Nile, a short story for Pyne and a novel for Poirot. Poirot was also replaced by Parker Pyne in the short story The Regatta Mystery when it was published in a U.S. collection in 1939. Perhaps Agatha Christie felt it was time for a new and different style of detection. The majority of Parker Pyne's cases are set in London. Although even when holidaying on the Orient Express and through the Middle East, his reputation precedes him, and he acts as an unwilling advisor from Baghdad to Shiraz, Petra, Delphi, and even on a Nile cruise in Christie's other Death on the Nile. There has only been one on-screen version of Parker Pyne, in 1982 as part of the series The Agatha Christie Hour. He was played by Maurice Denham and appeared in 2 episodes, The Case of the Discontented Soldier and The Case of the Middle-Aged Wife. Richard Griffiths played Parker Pyne in 2 adaptations for BBC Radio, In the Gate of Baghdad in 2002 and The £199 Adventure in 2003. Thank you for watching. See you again next time.